describe the meditative quality that creating lines and patterns has on an artist. And you start, it's a really neat technique that you just start by making a deliberate mark. And then it evolves from the deliberate mark. But for this instance, or this application, where we're working in pairs, it's probably best, and this is an example that I created of something that you guys will be creating today in pairs. It's probably best that you work with a partner and come up with some ideas, sketches of how you want to lay out your space. And some things to think about would be, do you want your composition to be symmetrical, asymmetrical? What do you want it to have, a symbol or any symbolism? Do you want it to have words? So here I took the word caring from our core principles, and you could lay this out in pencil on one of the ceiling tiles and then start adding the patterns and Zentangle designs inside each letter. You want to make sure you have your words spelled correctly if you're using words. You could take different things that symbolize things, like this is sign language for love. You can have a peace symbol and put the Zentangles in there. But this is something you want to work out with your partner beforehand. And you could just do that on a piece of scrap paper. Okay? So once you've done that, you'll sketch out your basic design on your ceiling tile. And I just have a white sheet of paper to do my example here so that you guys can use the ceiling tiles. So I'll start in a basic flower or daisy shape. It's just something I draw a lot. I feel very comfortable with it. So I'm just going to sketch it out in pencil. And then from here, you want to outline your basic sketch with the Sharpie marker. So you will go through and outline these lines. Now, if you had any stray pencil marks, before you start adding all the fine detail, you would go ahead and erase any stray pencil marks you may have. Now, feel free, if the room you're in has like a coffee can or a pencil container, ask the teacher in the room if you can trace that. If you want to get a precise circle outline. That would be a good way to get one exactly circular. So you would just go through and outline all of your pencil marks, and then you could take an eraser when that's over and just erase any stray marks. Then, part of Zentangle is you start with a deliberate mark. So the actual patterns, you're just going to have to roll with it. We're not going to erase. So a lot of times when you doodle, or you're in a situation where a doodle just starts happening, it always happens for me from just one basic shape. Maybe I start with a square. And then I think, okay, maybe I'll put a little circle there next to the square. And it just starts to evolve. Okay, so a pattern is anything that repeats. It could be the same thing repeating, or it could be a series of objects repeating. It can also be a series of little drawings repeating. If you like to draw like flowers, for example, or footballs, you can repeat those objects over and over again in your little Zentangle design. So I would go through and I would continue doing this. And then you can even change direction. So sometimes I like to give this a little outline. And then maybe I want something radiating out, because I kind of like the kind of working with that organic shape. Maybe I would radiate out some lines from the center of that petal. So I just kind of like that directional movement. So this is stuff you can work out with your partner as you're doing it. Maybe you take every other petal with your partner, or your partner takes one side of the Zentangle and you take the other, and just see how it fits together. You'll start to notice that the black and white makes it all relate. So there's really no wrong way to do this. Some people get really nervous about the no erasing part, just going right to the marker. And something to think about is you just make it work. I call it happy accidents. So if you decide down the road that you don't like that, or you wish you did something different, you can always change it. So let's say I'm making a series of hearts, and my marker slips, and the shape gets messed up. So maybe I make this heart a little bigger. It's like a happy accident. And then I do two regular size hearts or small size hearts. and then I do a big heart. I kind of just make it work. Okay, work with that mistake. And oftentimes, that's what helps to make your artwork dynamic, working with those happy accidents. It's not so planned. It's kind of got a vibrancy or a life to it. And don't be afraid to go right off the edge. Okay, so if your pattern can actually go right off the edge of the shape you're filling. I will also have, in the rooms you're working, a reference folder. Okay, so this is just if you get stuck. If you don't have any idea of what kind of patterns to make, I'll have a little reference folder for you in the room with different patterns. Also, if you are stuck coming up with an idea for how to lay out your design, you can Google Celtic designs, Hindu designs, medieval designs, and you could get some basic structures of how you could divide your space. I found that to be really helpful when I made my own. And on the PowerPoint, there's also student examples included, and you might even recognize them from, they might be yours, they might be your friends from our class, okay? So this was my teacher example for my 6th grade students. And then also Google is great for looking up symbolism. Okay, so I looked up different symbols, a Pennsylvania Dutch symbol for friendship. You know, different things that would give me ideas that kind of would relate to our character traits and our core principles. So just different things to think about.